Hey mages, welcome to today's MTG Arena video, and today I've got some budget decks for you. I've got three really cool decks. They're competitive for budget as well, and they have just 5 rares in. So they could be rare or mythic cards, but literally only 5 in each of the decks. 55 mixture of common and uncommon cards for the rest. So as you know, that is super budget. Before we get onto the decks, just want to say thank you for all your support in the recent videos, because you liked and you commented, especially on the last one. That got so much love, which was a 0 rare budget deck. Different, 3 or 4 different ones of them. You just, smashed it out the park for me, and it got it spread around, and we got loads of new subscribers. So welcome to you all, all you new subscribers, if you're here watching this video as well. Another shout out to my Patreons. Thank you for that extra support. If anyone wants to go that extra bit further, please check out the link below as well. And if you want to pick up any of these cards, you want to take them to your F&M and you want to play them in paper, I've got a link down there for my sponsors, Cardmarket, the largest marketplace on the world, for you to go and buy and trade your cards, if you're in Europe, of course. But yeah, so with all that out the way, let's get on what you come here for, onto today's decks. So the first deck that I have for you is Atari Flicker. Now this is a really cool brew. We know Atari Primal Conqueror is a very, very good creature. It's a 7/7 with trample for 5 double red. When it ends the battlefield, each player exiles from the top of the library until they exile a non-land card. Then you may cast those spells without paying their mana cost, and you can play 9 green or Phyrexian and transform Atari as well. This is a deck that's all about flickering Atari. We do have some good value creatures in the deck as well, but that is the whole idea of the deck. Now, I will talk about, a couple of little upgrades towards each of these decks, so make sure you stay and hear them as well. I'm not going to go fully into it, but, straight off the bat, we've got 3 of these in here. So with 5 rares, we have 3 Atari Primal Conqueror in there. The other rare is a really sweet card, this Nahiri's Resolve. Creatures you control get +1/+0 and haste, and at the beginning of your end, instead of exiling number of non-token artifacts or creature control, then you return them to the battlefield under their owner control at the beginning of the next upkeep. So, if you get to blink them out, they won't come back, so obviously they attack. Unless they got vigilance, they will be tapped down anyway, so you might as well bring him back and then get the ETBs. For those of you who are new players, enter the battlefield is ETB. So when Atari comes in, we get to exile again and do all that. The creature will have haste with Nahiri, so we will be able to attack. It's a really cool combination. Now, other cards in the deck, creature cards that work really well with this. We've got Ambitious Farmland, making card names up, Farmhand. We can go and search for basic planes. You can also transform if you like when you've got 3 different powers on the field. We've got Spirited Companion that is also very nice to blink because it comes in and draws us a card. So we're looking at value creatures for our deck like Inspiring Overseer. Ends the battlefield, gain a life, draw a card. If it's got haste on there as well, with the Nahiri's Resolve, we get to attack and then we get to draw cards and gain more life. It's really, really cool, this deck. I'm having so much fun with it. Circuit Mender is just another great budget card that has value, gain 2 life when it enters. When it leaves, you can obviously flicker this out with this really cool Nahiri's Resolve, and then you will draw a card and then it will come back and you'll gain 2 life, gain haste. You see the idea of this deck. Now, other ways to gain haste is Bitter Reunion. Ends the battlefield, bit of card draw for us, discard a card, draw 2, and then we can sack it to give other creatures haste if we like as well, in case we don't have the Nahiris on. Then we also have, where is it? We have Scroll Shift. This is an instant, exile up to 1 target artifact, creature, or enchantment you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control. So this will give us a little bit of protection for Nahiri's Resolve as well, and also this will be able to bounce something, and then we get to draw a card as well. So block, bounce so it doesn't die, or just block in case of removals come in or anything like that. Touch the Spirit Realm does pretty much the same thing. We can channel this, exile target artifact or creature, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control as well. So we get those ETBs that I was talking about and get more value from this. And also we can use it as a piece of removal as well, which is cool. Last card of the Instants and Sorcery is going to talk about. No, it's not. I'm lying. I've got a couple more to talk about. Against all odds, choose one or both. So exile target artifact or creature you control, return to the battlefield. Now this is sorcery, so we have to do it in our turn, or we can return target artifact or creature card with mana value 3 or less straight to the battlefield. And obviously, apart from Atari, that gets everything: the Circuit, the Inspiring, the Ambitious, and the Spirited Companion as well. I did forget to mention Destroy Evil. Just a single one of these. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 greater, or destroy target enchantment as well. And even more removal with just a really good card. Helps us deal with creatures, planeswalkers, ossification. You put it in there for 2 mana and you can get rid of something that's just really, really awkward for us to deal with. Last card in the main deck, the Eternal Wanderer. This has a blink effect as well, so you can exile to 1 target artifact creature, then return it as well. Usually done on opponents, but we might have to use this on ours. We can make a blocker with a samurai and the -4 in case, creatures are just overwhelming us. We can -4 and each player, would just be left with that 1 creature. And if ours is an Atari, that's just really good. Land base, very basic. 12 plains, 6 mountains, 4 wind-scarred crags, and a roadside reliquary. This can draw us cards because we do have enchantments and we have an artifact as well. So potentially we could draw 2 with the roadside reliquary. Now this deck, like I say, all these decks work perfectly well as they are. If you're looking to upgrade this little deck, and I always get asked about what would you do, upgrade a little bit here and there, I would definitely have another Nahiri's Resolve in the deck and probably drop a Bitter Reunion. This is just, I've played with it, and when it's been on the battlefield, it's just been so good and so powerful. This is one rare that I would definitely like to add another one in. Also, the 4th Atari. Now, obviously, I kept this to 5 to keep it super budget. By adding those just 2, extra rares, add another Atari in. What would you drop potentially? You just maybe drop one of your creatures. Maybe an Ambitious Farmhand. We do like the blinkage, but you could possibly put one of the sorcery ones to 2. That is another idea of maybe dropping that and keeping the ambitious in, because you do really want the creatures, and you're adding in the Nahiri's Resolve as an extra one. So I would probably, as this is the sorcery version, put this in, down to 2 and add in another Nahiri's and Atari. For me, that would be, a really good upgrade. Then you look at the lands. Lands are always what you want to do to upgrade. You do want to keep, an amount of planes because you've got Ambitious Farmhand in your deck, which goes and searches for your planes. But yeah, upgrading the lands to the rare, red or white, lands that can just come in there, I would definitely add in. Other than that, this deck is ready to go. Nice to play, and it's really fun. And when you start blinking Ataris, generally, your opponents just quit. On to the next deck, and it's the 5 rare Dimir Obliterator. Phyrexian Obliterator, a very powerful creature. This Phyrexian horror is 5/5/4 black to cast it though, which is why it can only go in a certain amount of decks. Whenever a source deals damage to it, that source's controller sacrifices that many permanents. It's a nightmare. I play this. I was losing against mono red. I dropped this in. They literally then just can't attack. If you've got a nice bit of life, they have to just require their burn. But the creatures just to come in because it just obliterates their field. They're generally running off. When they play in their creatures, they can just have 3 lands on the field. Normally that's enough. When they start, and a Phyrexian Obliterator just stands in there as a big blocker, it's really hard to sort of get around. We do have another creature in this, which is the other rare, which is Hullbreaker Horror. So that's your 5 rares in this. Hullbreaker Horror, just a great top-end finish for any type of control deck. Spell can't be countered. Whenever you cast a spell, choose up to 1. Return target spell. Don't control to own hand. You just start bouncing stuff and stopping spells. It's really, really good. So with that, we have a draw, destroy package with a little bit of, just a touch of counter magic in there. The really good common creature that features in a lot of mono blue decks is Tolarian Terror. And because this deck, runs a fair amount of non-creatures, 27, and a CMC average of 2.7, which for control deck is really low, to be honest. We can get this on the field really, really early, and it's got War 2, so it has a bit of protection for that as well. So let's have a look at the spells. Like I said, a lot of removal. We've got Fading Hope to bounce stuff. We can even bounce our own creatures, which is good because, we're budget. We've got, this Wincon of the Phyrexian and the whole, and this is a good way to protect it, not only to bounce opponents' creatures as well. Cut down in there as removal, 4 of these, 3 go for the throat, and a 1 Infernal Grasp as well. So lots of removal. Hero's Downfall as well. So even more removal. We will be destroying everything in this deck completely. as long as opponent has creatures and planeswalkers. So then we go on to the little bit of counter magic here. We've got Make Disappear just in there as a 4-of. This isn't really a counter spell type of, this is a reaction type of deck. Lots of destruction because there's so many heavy creature-based decks out there. We have card draw with Consider, which is really sweet. Surveil 1, put something in the graveyard if we have to, and then find the card that we want. Found in the Third Path. I don't generally play with this card too much, so I wanted to put it in there to test it out, and it turned out it's not too bad because the +1, we play this for 2, then we can either play Consider, Fade and Hope, Cut Down, Go for the Throat, Infernal Grasp. There's so many cards we can play with that. And then target player mills 4 cards, so we ditch that on opponent, maybe mess up their deck, unless they're in a Traxxas deck. You don't want to be doing that. And then we exile target instant source card and copy it, and you may cast a copy as well. With this type of deck, the limited creatures, I like playing a card like Witness the Future, so if they do die, loads of removal in Standard, we can potentially shuffle them back up and get them back in, or maybe all our removal or something like that. Just a really cool card. We get to draw a card as well, so yeah, that's a sweet card. As for the land base, very budget. Like I said, the 5 rares are used in this, and this is what you want to be doing to upgrade straight away. We've got 8 islands, we've got 8 swamps, and we've got a couple of these draw lands like this, Containment, Aquifer, and Dismal Blackwater, which is still nice because it gains us life. So, that is one card, but you've got so many other good rare lands that when you go in there as well, you've got your Otawara that I would definitely add in. Takenuma, because it can bring back one of our creatures, is a definite. And then you've got like your Dark Shores and then your Underground River, Silver Mars. Just to make the deck a lot more consistent, I would definitely upgrade the rares for that. As in for other card upgrades, the creature base is fine as it is. I do like that. Potentially another Hullbreaker Horror you could add in if you'd like. I do like, what is it called? Memory Deluge as a card to help find our creatures as well. So maybe a couple of these in there would do decent. You have to see how good you find the Founding Path. That is one thing I would probably move out and in place for some really good card draw. Put an extra couple of 4-drops in there, and then Founding Path would probably move just so I can use the memory and then cycle my cards and find the brewed obliterators and all the creatures that we need. So that is definitely one of the upgrades I would add in. Other than that, this deck is ready to go. It's like a control deck, but more of a different control with not so much counter magic. It's just a way of playing control, but then not just doing like the mono blue version of play island go kind of thing. So this is a very fun deck, and you can definitely be smashing people with your obliterator. And then the final deck that I have for you is a 5 rare Orzov Toxic deck. Now, if you want to play Toxic, generally people play a green version with Venerated Rot Piece. But that does add up the rare count quite a lot because you need 4 of the Venerated. You generally have 4 Skrelv as well and everything like that. And all of a sudden it's going 4, 8, 12, 16 rare, 20 rares. It's getting really, really expensive to play. And this version has 5. So, by playing Orzhov, we can still play 3 Skrelv Defector of Mite. And then we play a couple of Skrelv's Hives. Now, this is a good card. If you want to upgrade this deck, I'm automatically going to say an extra Skrelv and an extra couple of Hives. This just is a really good card. Puts the pressure on to your opponent and just keeps creating those Phyrexians where you can make the Mite tokens and get in with your Toxic 1. It's really good. Now, this is great for protecting your creatures. Very rarely should you attack with this. You need to keep it untapped. And then you can use the Phyrexian mana. So it doesn't matter if you're tapped out, you can just pay the 2 life. And protect your really good creatures like your Jawbone Judas, the Double Striker. Any other creature that you've got in there, your Annex Sentry that might have taken an exile or an artifact or creature opponent control and you don't want to get it back, so you can protect that from the removal as well. Other cards in the deck for the creature base, we've got Skull Dweller, Death Touch. Great for a bit of removal. Takes down anything. And then we have a Blight Belly Rat that was Toxic 1, and when it dies, proliferate. So as long as you've got that first counter on, this can really do a job and get a little bit more as well. A card that I really like in this deck, though, is Flensing Raptor. Flying Toxic 1, ends a battlefield, another target creature you control gets Toxic +1. Gets +1/1 and gains flying, so you can fly over with that evasion and get those poison counters in. So the spells in the deck. Necrogan Communion. Interesting. Great fun card. Enchant creature you control. It has Toxic 2, so builds up the toxicity on your creatures. great on the Jawbone Duelist with a bit of double strike, but when this creature dies, you get to return it to the battlefield under your control. So if it's on the Annex, that dies, it comes back, and then you exile something again. On the Raptor, comes in, you'll be able to give another creature with Toxic +1 and fly into end of turn. You get the idea of this. Put it on the Skrelv, they kill it, it comes back, starts protecting again. So there's lots of different ways, like the Proliferate creature as well, that this card does a lot of work. Now, we also have a bit of protection. Other than Skrelv, we have Surge of Salvation, which can protect us, gives our permanents hexproof until end of turn, and we can prevent all damage that black and red sources will deal to the creatures as well. So that's, you know, a nice little effects we can have in there. Removal, go for the throat in there as a 2-off. We've got Anoint with Affliction that works well with poison counters. We get to exile creatures permanently if they have 3 or more poison counters as well. So that is a really sweet bit of removal. And then just a little bit of card draw with Infectious Inquiry. It gives a poison counter, which is nice. So if you couldn't get through with your early creature, this will start off the poison counter. Then you can start doing your shenanigans. And also you draw 2 cards, which is nice. And you normally take the pain for black as well. So you take 2 life off yourselves as well. But still, this is a very, very good deck. So poison, if you're new to it, a new player, a new beginner, poison, you only have to do 10 damage with poison counters. So not normally like the 20, which is obviously a little bit harder to do because we've basically got really, really small creatures. You can get, I have won a gold game just by winning with damage, but it's very rarely that, you know, you'll win with Toxic first. If you're getting through, your Toxic will obviously do the damage first. So looking how you're going to upgrade, like I said, I would add another Skrelv, I would have another Hive, couple of Hives without a doubt. And then, you know, you really want to upgrade the land base on this one without a doubt. So you can add in Iganju, extra bit of damage, put one of these in there. You add in Takanuma again because you want to recur some of these really good creatures. And then you add in your Sanctums and your potentially, your Caves of Kalios as well, because you really want to be getting, you know, your turn 1 plays down, your turn 2 plays down, which is nice. You will get it down because he's coming untapped. But it leaves it open that you could be, you know, a little bit mana screwed occasionally with this because, you know, it's super budget. You don't really want tapped lands coming in because tap land turn 1 stops you. And if you've got a plains and a tap land, it stops you turn 2 playing. So Caves of Kalios is really, really good. And obviously this does enter tapped unless you control 2 or more other lands. So early on, if you've got the other lands, though, you will be able to play that, obviously, untapped. So that works out really good for the deck as well. And if you're looking for creatures potentially to update, upgrade for this, if we would do that a little bit there, and we'll have a little bit at Toxic, we can have a look. So other cards that you can put in the deck, there's Mite Overseer, First Strike. It's a 4-dropped. So, you know, I'm not sure whether this is a card that I would actually put in there. You have the Rat King, other rats you can draw have Toxic 1. But as you can see, you know, if you're looking at the rares with Toxic for these colours, there's not much of an upgrade you really need to do. This is really good as is for me. It's the lands and maybe adding another couple of Hives and that. So this is a really, you know, fairly cheap upgrade for this deck. And I think, you know, this deck definitely gets some wins, and people don't like playing Toxic. And it's a cheaper version of playing Toxic rather than going the green route with Venerated Rod Priest. Now, that probably is stronger, I'm not going to lie to you, but you're going to have to sink in a lot more rares for that type of deck. And this deck is still competitive and ready to play. So there was 3 decks for you with limited rares, 5 rares in each. I hope you've enjoyed today's video. Let me know what you think of the decks and which ones you're going to be playing and how you're going to upgrade them, any other ideas. I always like to see it in the comments as well. And also let me know of any other cards you want to see built around to make some budget decks around. Thanks again to my Patreons. I really do appreciate all your extra support, and every single person that's watching this video to the end. Liking, subscribe if you're new. It really does help. Let me know you're a new subscriber. And yeah, I always reply to every single one of my comments as much as I can. I really do. So hope you enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. You lot take care, and I'll see you on the next one.